Welcome to the Ultimate Bloons TD 6 strategy series, where I'm going to be showing you strategies for every single tower from the Dart Monkey to the Beast Handler and every single path in between. This will show you how to diversify your setup and get better, along with seeing some stats, tips and tricks, and all of the strategies for every single one of the towers. And although that the series is geared more towards Chimps mode, this will also show you a lot of tips and tricks that apply to the standard game and will allow you to win with a new style. It's time to look at the middle path of the Desperado, which has the Golden Justice, the Bounty Hunter, and the Deadeye. And these are really unique towers, so let's take a look at them. First of all, the Deadeye, it's not very effective alone, but there is a pretty cool spam strategy that you can use that I'll cover. The Bounty Hunter has a very good support tower. It can support Desperados and really anything else with its extra range buff. And the Golden Justice is kind of a late game carry. It's really weird how it does damage, so I'll explain that more when I get to it. First of all, let's take a look at the stats over here. This is for the Deadeye, and unlock at the top path. This guy actually has Pierce at its tier 3, which is interesting. For Pierce with 12 damage, it does double damage to fortifieds, which is pretty funky. Then the Bounty Hunter has some improved stats, but the big deal is its ways to buff. It can buff the damage of Desperados with the Mark II pop and the Take Aim, which will then buff other towers with their range. It also buffs like the spread of shots, but honestly that really isn't a big deal to me. Then there's the Golden Justice, which does a lot of damage while having improved abilities to the Mark II pop. The Take Aim ability that would buff other towers, however, is the same, so that is not going to be anything different, but it just does a crazy amount of damage and it makes Desperados go insane too. For its cross path, the best is going to be the top paths, the 2, 3, 4, or 5-0. Now, because you're going for the middle by default, you can either choose if you want to get the bottom cross path benefits or the top cross path benefits, as you aren't forced into one, which would make the other conflict. But because of how it works, you want to have the main pistol attack out of range, so you use just the rifle, which means that you're always going to be going for the top cross path. The Bounty Hunter, of course, is going to give some good buffs, and this is going to be range buffs. There's a lot of strong damage towers that will do very well with this range buff. On top of that, you can also do a funky thing where you can range buff a discount village and get more discount. The range buff can be very powerful on certain tier 5s though. Not all of them are going to do well with this buff, so this is not a support tower that you're going to be getting in every single game, but if you have something like an Inferno Ring, it's pretty cool to give that thing a massive range. There's no really way to describe which towers will be wanting to get this range buff, but some will just benefit from range a lot more naturally, and also it might be dependent on maps where some larger range will be needed. Also, this will be able to buff the damage of Desperados, which is a pretty big deal. It's a lot more effective on something like the Blazing Sun and the Deadeyes compared to the Desert Phantom, which would do cleanup, but oftentimes you'd have strategies with the Desert Phantom that would involve them, so you might get that too. Then for the Golden Justice, you're going to want to give this guy a Berserker Brew and an Overclock, and he's going to go crazy. This is a really bad map to showcase it though, but that's just what I was on. So those are the kind of the buffs that you'd want to give. When it comes to heroes, Etienne, which is a hero that would buff the range, is pretty interesting. It also works out very well with the Golden Justice and the Deadeye spam. You can use any other hero as it's a support tower and would be supporting other towers, or you could try a strategy out with Silas. Silas is probably going to get nerfed though, but Silas pairs very well with the Golden Justice, or another cleanup tower like Sai can also fill in some of the Golden Justice's weaknesses and the Deadeye spam weaknesses too. For the strengths, it has a very powerful range buff, giant buff for Desperados, pretty good for its price, and really unique tier 5 with extreme damage. The big con is that Golden Justice is very map dependent, and our objectives are going to be the Bounty Hunter buffs, Desperado spam strategy, and the Golden Justice spam strategy. And as I mentioned in other videos, if you saw that, as the Desperados are very map dependent, you'll see that the Golden Justice is definitely the most map dependent tower, so I'm really going to talk about it. On the other hand, this Desperado spam strategy, or no, the Deadeye spam strategy really is a lot more forgiving. You can use this a lot of places, especially if you use it with a hero like Etienne, where they're just going to have giant range and completely cover the whole map. You can throw them wherever and they're going to do well. But this is a very weird and interesting strategy. It's quite unique, so I'm going to showcase it right here. It's going to start off by getting something that will kind of be able to take out all the higher Pierce rounds in the early game. So I'm just going to go for a reactor. This will also kind of cover just a lot of the general damage needs that I'll need in the beginning, and I'll have to make sure to grab something for lead, so I'm just going to grab a sniper for that a little bit later too. Etienne is going to be increasing the range. As I said, that's going to be really good for the bounty hunter and the golden justice strategies, because we'll give it a lot more range to work with, and they'll be able to pick off from far back, which will work greatly with the 240 or 230, 240 or 250 cross path. Anything like that with the standoff, it's just going to be helping a lot. So that's going to be working out really well. And if you want to increase the range even further, you can apply their own buffs to the Desperados themselves, and that's going to buff up their range, which is really nice. So we're going to be building into the Desperados a little bit later. They do have really good single target damage in the mid game, but if you get enough of them, they kind of can just push over the Pierce thresholds that you might need, along with some cleanup help from Etienne's UCAV to be able to do good Pierce and good single target damage to everything around it, which is pretty funky because most spam strategies you'd consider they kind of have more Pierce, like a bomb spam, for example, starts off with a lot of Pierce per bomb, so a whole bunch of towers will be affecting every balloon with its damage, instead of a bunch of towers trying to build up enough Pierce through having all the towers to do enough damage. Kind of funky, but I guess that's just how it works if you understand what I'm saying. A triple discount is going to be a pretty big deal. You can just throw the discounts around, and if you want, you can even use the range buffs on the villages to kind of push them out so they will buff your discount buff other towers away. And you do want to have these Desperados further away from the track, which would of course allow them to do a lot more damage with the standoff. I'll get the primary mentoring, and then you can throw some Desperados way in the back and they're going to be doing a lot of damage. Now what you can do with this strategy, you can use these discounts to get really cost effective damage. That's why I said like it's extremely cost effective. So you're just going to be doing something crazy, but this honestly is a lot of work. You easily can do it. It's going to be a lot more cost effective because you can triple discount everything and get all these crazy benefits with the tier 4 bounty hunter buffs too. But what is a little bit easier is that if you use this with a strong cleanup tower, so you get like Bloon Solver in there, and then you'll just generally have a lot easier of a time. So that's really what I recommend doing. I ended up not doing that, but in hindsight, as a showcase of a black border strategy, that would be a lot more of an effective thing to do. Other than that, you'll just build up all these guys and they'll be doing a lot of damage. They'll just have one weakness in the end, which is to DDTs, so you're going to have to get something that can counter that. Having 2 Sabos would be able to do it. It's really 99, that's the hard, no, 95, that's the hardest round. 99 is also a little bit difficult, but because these guys do so much extra damage to fortifieds, it's not really much of a concern. So 95 is really the only hard thing. 2 Sabos can really help them out, but if you have something like the Bloon Solver, it might be cool to try to get Icicle and Pale on the side too, because these are so cheap under just a triple discount. You can get a whole bunch of them and have a ridiculous amount of cash left over. So running this strategy like that giant grid clump of Desperados that you see I have in the top corner, which by the way, they're just like flying through the mid game. Like a lot of these mid game rounds, you want high Pierce to be able to take out stuff like 78. They just destroy it if you get enough of them. So they do have good Pierce, but if you have that giant grid doing a whole lot of damage, then you have like Bloon Solver and Icicle and Pale, for example, that's going to do do really well. To counter DDTs here, I got super glue, which is a pretty good option. That'll also hold things back kind of, which in a way will deal with the Pierce issue by keeping them back. And with the Desperados set on first, which by the way, they should be set on first. I think I should have mentioned that. You can see they're all on first here, but they do need to be on first to be able to kind of clean things up instead of just making gigantic rushes of Moabs and ceramics. So that's pretty important. For like round up to 50, it's probably good to have one of them set on strong so it can focus on taking out the ceramics early, but after that they will go on first. And then you can get a few bounty hunters, 1, 2 if you want, I guess, because you have money left over. You could even get 3 if you want, and then you can use those abilities here and there. They'll be able to mark everything, make the Desperados do a lot more damage, apply all the range buffs and the buffs that will make the Desperados do a lot more damage with the crits, or a lot more crits. Then that will increase the damage up. Use Etienne's ability on DDTs maybe, and then everything will kind of just go down. And I can even do this with Cash Bear. It's a really funky strategy, but oddly really effective, as they're just pretty much all tier 3s. You can get the discounts and they get super cheap, so you really can get a lot of them. As you can see, as I'm using super glue, I'm getting like almost Pierce issues, but I was able to get through it. The UCAV kind of helped out there a little bit, so that's why the Icicle Impale, Solver, and Deadeye Spam strategy that I mentioned would probably be a lot easier and a lot more effective, but that kind of is it. I have 58,000 Cash Bear, so you could easily get those other towers if you want and have very nice effective black borders. So now let's go over to the Golden Justice. As you can see there, I might have failed the round 6 on Dark Castle. That happens sometimes, but this is a very weird and unique tower because it has very high Pierce, extremely high Pierce, and extremely high damage. Now that just sounds like it's OP, it would destroy everything, but the catch is that it's extremely inconsistent in that damage. So it's just a very weird combination. If it gets its shot off, it does a very clean shot, it goes straight through everything, destroys everything. But if it doesn't, if it misses a shot or two, then you're kind of dead. So we're gonna find some ways to work around that. First of all, you need a map. It's extremely map specific, and you need a map where it can be at the end of the track and shoot straight down and do a lot of damage. So you need a long straight for it to work, which is not a lot of maps. Dark Castle is one of them, Sanctuary is one of them, Infernal, something like Another Brick, anything like that. So it's a very limited amount of maps that this is going to be good on. If you're going to be doing on a map where you can't get like a good straight line, it's just not going to be effective. It's not going to be able to use its Pierce that it wants, and then you're just going to have inconsistent single target damage by only affecting a little bit of balloon. So yeah, you want to have a straight line, and then you want to have like some sort of cleanup to be able to solve the ineffectivencies. Having the single target damage, you will be able to take out the ZMGs, and the badge is fine because they're slow, but some of those DDTs and then ceramics will need some help. So that's why I, for this example, will be using Eyee with the Prince of Darkness. It's not the greatest map on Dark Castle, but it will do the job, and it's a great synergy with the Golden Justice because it's going to be able to kill the ZOMGs well and clean up ceramics and Moabs, which is what the Golden Justice will struggle if it gets unlucky. If it's not unlucky, it will straight up destroy everything, but in order to keep that consistency, this is a great tower to pair it with. The Golden Justice will be able to certainly obliterate all the ZMGs, the bad, but this is a good way to deal with that. So I'm going to be getting just a airburst dart into armor piercing darts, and then with the alk buff I'll be able to go for the necromancer right there. I'll have Zeely down early. I can use the Zeely's hex to help get this Prince of Darkness just in time, so we get that there. I set it in the back, and then this will also be allowing me to save up for the Golden Justice. It's a little bit of a big save up, and you will have the Bounty Hunter to do that, which can help. You can use that tower to buff the range of whatever you're saving up for. Because it's going to be in the back, it's not really going to be doing a crazy amount of damage, but if you're using a save up tower that can get effectiveness from the bounty hunter buff, then that's going to help out too. So that's just going to make the save up for the Golden Justice. It's pretty effective. You can use some other towers. You just need to have cleanup and a way to pop or slow down DDTs. So you could use any other combination of that. You could use like Glaive Lord, and then, I don't know, Icicle Impale, Super Glue, something like that, then Golden Justice in the back. That would also work out very well. Just got to take out that stuff, and it can do the save up, and Glaive Lord can do that save up. So yeah, that something like that would work, which would be very, very good. Now, during the meantime, for this save up with this Prince of Darkness and Zeely, this is just going to work out fine. So I'm going to talk about something different that I haven't talked about, which is the take aim ability and how it makes things more, like all the projectiles more clumped together. This is a buff that like some people have talked about, but I honestly myself do not really find this useful very often, and sometimes it makes towers even worse because it's clumping up all the projectiles into one tiny shot. And when you have some spread, sometimes just a little bit of spread, if there's a tower that has like a wicked amount of spread, then it would definitely help. But if there's a decent amount of spread, it will be able to shoot its projectile and kind of take some stuff like the balloons kind of in the remote area around it if it is relying that on to do pierce. So when it comes to mind like Grape Shot, for example, now when you have the take aim ability, that would be doing more single target damage, but if you have a whole bunch of wave of balloons and you need to pop everything, it's just going to make all the projectiles shoot into one spot. The pierce is not going to get used because they aren't spread over where all the balloons are, and then everything's just going to fly away and you'll be doing a lot less damage. So sometimes it actually can make towers worse. That's not really a lot of the times, but a lot of the times I find it just doesn't really do anything. So honestly, that's not like a big deal, and that's why I'm not really saying it's like a big deal in the first place. If there's some situations where it's going to help out a lot more, you could mention that, but for me, not really much. I get the Golden Justice here, and as you can see, it's shooting down the straight line and doing a lot of damage. I want to make sure that only its rifle attacks, which is why I have it far at the back, and I'm also going to be buffing it up with the primary mentoring and the stronger stimulant to give it more range so it can start shooting further on. I'm going to be using its take aim ability on the Desperado itself when the balloons are farther away, so not in the range, so it can start shooting its rifle earlier, and then when some stuff gets like farther in, it will shoot by itself. So that's kind of how it works. And then you can use the other abilities on harder rounds, overclock it to do a lot more damage, and when it's far back, so the rifle's only attacking and it can shoot down the straight line, it will destroy everything, and whatever it's inconsistent at, another tower will clean it up. Very, very cool strategy, extremely map dependent though, which is a little bit unfortunate just because it's so awesome. And you can see it just absolutely demolish the bad when you have something like that. So if you can find a map that this tower is really, really good on, then you definitely want to use it, because there are not a lot of maps that it's good on. And if the map just doesn't fit this criteria, it's not worth using at all. It's not going to shoot down the line. It's only going to do something, and it's going to be even more inconsistent. It's just going to be a disaster. So that's the
Thanks for watching. If you want to help out the channel, you can check out these new videos, like and subscribe for more content, support the channel by becoming a member, and joining the Discord to chat with the community. Bye!